Yeah.
All right, and welcome everybody to another edition of Extreme Sports. Glad everybody could join us on this evening. I'm joined now by one of my good brothers, Devon Ashby, NABJ brother, doing big things with ESPN right now. He'll see
And Verizon
the
Media.
New York Times selling best author as well. Dev, what's popping, bro? What's going on?
What's going on, bro? What's up with you?
Just here to chop it up tonight. Hope everybody doing well. COVID numbers are continuing to go down nationwide. That's always a good thing. We like to hear that. We're seeing the death toll go down as well. So
Vaccine.
I'm not here necessarily to preach the agenda of the vaccines, but I am here to tell everybody to do what you got to do so we can do what we got to do to make it up out of this.
Right. Exactly.
But let's go ahead and get started, man. First of all, let me go ahead and give a huge shout out and props to future Hall of Fame quarterback, New Orleans Saints great Drew Brees, man. I know I got on Drew Brees a lot these past 2 years, but in all honesty, I have nothing but respect for Drew Brees, the quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. It's a pity and a shame to me that Drew Brees didn't get at least one more Super Bowl, and it's definitely a pity and a shame that this man didn't win at least one regular season MVP award. Drew Brees was the heart and soul of the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans sports scene for so long, and it is going to be a void in the NFL next year without him. It's going to feel very similar to how it was when Peyton retired, no matter how Peyton looked in his last year out there. You're so used to those guys being out there as some of the key faces of the game, and the game's not it's not going to be the same without Drew Brees. So a big kudos and a prop and a shout out to Drew Brees. The only reason I thought he was holding on so long for the announcement, Dev, and now our other brother Matthew Craig is joining us. The only reason I thought for so long that he was holding out was maybe because he may have been considering coming back for one more year to go out in front of the New Orleans Saints faithful, those fans, because of course we know COVID absolutely ravaged fan bases last year as far as the NFL being able to have fans in attendance. That was the only reason I thought he may have been holding out. But I believe he did the right thing here. It allows the Saints to move forward with either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, if not to both of them. And we're going to talk about them in just a second, too. But, Dev, you want to go ahead and give something to Drew Brees really quickly?
Yeah, I did a podcast episode about him earlier this week. And I was talking about it, and it's like, man, this really for us, the four of us in here in particular, like we kind of came up in a really cool era. We got to see prime Tom Brady and prime Peyton Manning, prime Aaron Rodgers, prime Drew Brees. Like Brees was one of those dudes, for a long time. And I feel like his credit, or his not his credit, his career gets a little underrated at times because of the era he came up in. Like I just said, but with the Bradys and the Mannings in particular. So he gets lost in there. But what that man did for the city of New Orleans, especially like coming there in '06 right after Katrina hit, and just everything he did off the field, and of course the way he and the Saints played on the field, like winning that Super Bowl in '09 and whatnot. Like that dude is like a legend in that city, and you can tell that just like the way people talk about him, the way Saints fans talk about him. Like dude was consummate professional, and even when he would get himself in trouble with some of his comments in recent years, it still wasn't like super detrimental to him because I mean, dude just he 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 was really just that dude for real, and shout out to him. And you just wonder, it's probably impossible to replace Drew Brees, but like you just wonder with all the records he's broken and everything, like just how New Orleans even can move on really from that, because dude was just like that. He meant so much to that city, so it's crazy.
I don't
Congrats
think
to him on an incredible career.
I don't think there's ever been an individual athlete who ever meant more to a city from the standpoint of everything overall. Not just what you brought to the athletic competitive atmosphere, but everything you did overall. Matt, go ahead and cook on this because I know you got a lot to say about Drew Brees, and just wanted to show him some appreciation and give him his flowers as he announced his retirement from the NFL just 2 nights ago.
Well, Drew Brees. Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah, Drew Brees, I believe, is one of the greats all time. He did a lot for the New Orleans area. Me being from, I know I represent Houston a lot because I grew up in Houston, but I was actually born in Louisiana, and more in northern Louisiana, though not in the south where New Orleans is, but just born in Louisiana, and I'm back living in Louisiana now. And Drew Brees just did a lot for the city of New Orleans at a time where a lot was going on, man. Just like Devon just said, I probably missed it. X probably mentioned it as well. Just when Katrina hit, it was just like devastating as far as what was going on with the city and what was going on with the area, that whole southern area of Louisiana, because people thought the whole city thought the president, not just the state, but the president of the United States turned their back on the whole city of New Orleans, and it was just a rough time. And sometimes some areas that's still affected by New Orleans. I mean, from Hurricane Katrina. So it was just a rough time. So for him to come in at that time and kind of bring life back into the city at that particular time was just amazing. To bring a Super Bowl back to the city around that time was just amazing. For him to help make the New Orleans Saints relevant again was just amazing. And I know I got a lot of flack just from people I know from New Orleans and Louisiana, period, because I'm never been a big Breeze fan. Like, I don't dislike him. I don't really. It's like I don't dislike him. I don't like him. It's just like I cheer for him. And but this last year, I was a Breeze fan because everybody was ready to throw him away, X included. It was ready to throw him away, saying that he was washed, he was old with, he needed to retire. And I was more of the thing like, man, he gave y'all. I'm just speaking the Saints fan. I know X not a Saints fan. I'm just speaking the Saints fans when I say this part. He gave y'all so much and made y'all relevant. He bought y'all from under the trash bags and made y'all a relevant contending team every year, and helped bring y'all into contention, playoff contention every year. And y'all came from a point where y'all was not even looked at, and y'all just ready to throw him away just like that because he's having a bad season. And I agree, he needed to retire. But my thing was, since he decided to play that one last year, I feel like the city, the Saints organization, everybody should have got behind him to make sure that we go give it everything we got, kind of like a Peyton Manning and Denver type thing. Like, we go, even though he sucks and everybody knows he sucks, he's going to game manage us, and we go be defensive and run the heavy all the way to the Super Bowl. That's kind of what I want for him, but he didn't get it. But he's an all-time great. I wouldn't put him in the top 5 all time, but he's definitely top 10. He broke almost every record. Tom Brady go come right behind him and break his records, but he's top 3 in almost all the major quarterback statistics, and so he's undeniably a Hall of Famer for his bad Hall of Fame. But he's top 10 all time, and he just did a lot for the city, and I really appreciate it. We got to see this moment. So yeah.
Now, Lawrence, before you cook on this, let me just say this to something Matt said. I stand by what I have said for the past 2 years about Drew Brees being washed and needing to retire. I stand by that. But I will say this. For diehard New Orleans Saints fans out there, yeah, y'all shouldn't have been dogging your dude. You see, I'm not a diehard New Orleans Saints fan. I'm not a Saints fan at all. I'm from Georgia. I'm not a Falcons fan either, but I do root for the Falcons. Of course, I root for the home team. But my point was simply always based off of a particular game back in 2018 where I said he hasn't looked the same since. Some of y'all just flat out came out here dogging the dude, and that was just wrong on every level. But it's nice to see y'all show your praise and your appreciation for him now that he's not going to be out there on the field for you anymore. Lawrence, just any thoughts you have on Drew Brees before we move on to the next topic?
Well, one, I just want to say, like, thank you for, having me on here. Love coming on here, rapping with you guys about, things we're passionate about. And to Matt's point, and that's a quote I would say is from from my favorite superhero and from a legendary actor in himself, rest in peace. You either, well, never mind, not rest in peace, but it is from the Dark Knight, and that is you either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain, and that's what I believe has happened to Drew Brees. You get, and this happens a lot with professional athletes. It's a tight line to walk. You believing that you can still play that elite level, but your body not being able to follow you, and so it becomes the more so of like, yeah, the mind is there for him, but the body isn't. And it turns into like, yeah, he's washed up, he's this or that. But it's really, as X pointed and Matt, and maybe even Dev, I wasn't here for that part, but New Orleans did a better job to surround him with those pieces. You don't put a quarterback on his last legs like, hey, man, we need you to go out here and throw for 400 yards every week. That's not going to get it done. That's not efficient. That's not smart. So I felt like Drew just had an incident where he lived to become the villain, both on the field and off the field with his comments he had regarding certain topics that we're not going to get into. So I do feel like at one point in his career, he was that poster child. He was that guy. I just feel like he took it a year too far past, let's hang him up.
Y'all definitely made some good points on that there. I'll just close out this topic just simply by saying a kudos to Drew Brees. I guess we'll see you on NBC next year calling NFL action, calling Notre Dame games. And I know for a fact in about 5 to 6 years from now, we'll see you in Canton, Ohio.
And we need the documentary.
Go ahead.
We need the documentary.
I definitely agree with you on that. We definitely need that 30 for 30. But with that being said, before we hop into our next topic, let me transition into it simply by saying happy 316 day to everybody. Whether it's Austin 316 day, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWE wrestling related, or whether it's John 316 day, Christianity, biblical, religion related, however you want to spend it, it's 316 day. With that being said, there's a meme and a gif of Bill Belichick walking into Ford Field, the home of the Detroit Lions, as he's walking onto the field for a game. And you hear that glass-shattering theme music of Stone Cold Steve Austin playing. And people created this meme every time there was a big-time trade rumor or big free agent that was coming up. And for the past 2 years, that hasn't really necessarily been the case with the Patriots. Whether they had the money or they were just choosing not to spend it, whatever the case was. For the past 2 days, every time there has been a free agent signing popping up, the New England Patriots have either signed the player or they have been rumored to sign the player. So cue the Stone Cold Steve Austin theme music because Bill Belichick has been on one. He has taken stuff personal, clearly. He had to sit there and he had to watch Tom Brady go to Tampa and win a Super Bowl without him and have his legacy called into question by so many people asking, was it really Brady? Was it really Belichick? It looked like it was more Brady. He's had to sit here and listen to all of this. And from Jonnu Smith to Kendrick Bourne to Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith yesterday. Today, Hunter Henry, he's signed other notable offensive linemen. Matt Judon, the former pass rusher of the Baltimore Ravens. The Patriots have been making some moves, and they look like they are right back in the contention talks. Dev, I know you wanted to cook on this, so go ahead. What are your impressions about what the New England Patriots have done so far in the NFL offseason?
Well, I will say, Bill out here building. That man, I don't know. Everybody was like, hey, I need more weapons. And that man was like, I bet. And he just went out here and went crazy. And you figure they had the cap space because, like you said, I mean, over the years, they don't really go crazy. And Tom, for years, would restructure his deals so that they would have money to sign people. So they are doing this, and they're getting some pieces back. I still don't know if it'll be enough in that division because I just feel like Buffalo is just, they've closed that window now. And that momentum is just really hard to stop. So I still think Buffalo is the team to be in that division. But New England at least is going to have something to say about it. Like, Andre 3000 told everybody the South is going to have something to say. In this case, Bill and them boys is going to have something to say. But I still think that it is Buffalo's division.
A lot of this is going to come down to is Cam Newton still a starting caliber quarterback from the standpoint of arm strength and accuracy and those types of things? And can he do it consistently? Yes, we can sit here and we can say that last year he didn't have the weapons, he didn't have the personnel around him to necessarily do it, which is true. But we've been having questions about Cam's arm strength since his last year in Carolina, where that shoulder was really banged up. And I hope that Cam can come back and still do this more consistently. I hope he can come back and have a much better record next year. Hope he can come back and have a better statistical season next season as well, because outside of those rushing touchdowns, it was pretty abysmal. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. It wasn't very good. But, Matt, go ahead and cook on this, because I know you have something to say here, too, about what dominant primetime Bill has been doing. As a matter of fact, scratch that. He's been the Don this offseason. He's been on the Don stuff this offseason. So go ahead, Matt. Go ahead and cook on it.
Yeah, Devon was right. The AFC East is on lock. It definitely is on lock. It's on lock for the Patriots, because the Patriots win the division. They're going to go ahead and lock this up. They'll return to the throne of bullying everybody in the AFC East like he's been doing. The Jets are non-existent. The Miami, they about to believe in Tua, and Tua we trust. And Bills, I feel like they go slide back a bit. I feel like this last year they kind of over exceeded, and I feel like they go slide back a bit. I can still see them making the playoffs though. And Cam Newton's gonna lead them to a divisional win, man. I feel like they had a lot of good pickups, because the tight ends is key, because it's going to be a tight end system that he had his most success offensively in, outside of when he had Moss, of course. But even when he had Moss, and they still had Gronk in them there. So, but outside of that Moss year, when he had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, Tom Brady was cooking, man. And Cam not on Tom Brady level, but Cam had his most success when he had two good tight ends as well when he was in Carolina. So I feel like that's gonna be good for him. They got to get that running game down. Last year the running game was not that good. I'm not sure if I'm really a believer in Sony Michel. Honestly, he showed flashes when he had time. Last year I thought it would be his opportunity to kind of break out. He really kind of let me down by what he did. But they believe in him again to bring him back this year. They may draft a running back, and they may sign. Running backs are a good plug-in player, so they can sign like an undrafted running back and plug him in and be shock the world. So they may go out and get somebody in the free agency late after the draft and pick somebody up as undrafted free agent. So they may improve on that position. Wide receiver, Bill, for some reason, he just can't draft wide receivers. Like, he just can't draft them. Like, his best wide receivers are people that he picks up in the free agency. And even then, he sometimes hit and miss on his wide receivers. Like, he swung for Josh Gordon. That was a miss. He swung for and not because of him, but not because of Bill, but it was just a miss at the end of the day. He swung for these wide receivers he got last year, and they were missed. Like, what's his name from Atlanta? Sanu. So I just feel like he's not the best evaluator of drafting free agents, but drafting rookies as wide receiver, but hopefully he does better this year with Aguilar. And Aguilar had some bad years in Philly, but he actually had a pretty good year when he was with Vegas. I know a lot of people just bring up the Philly year because he didn't lead the lead in drops, but he was number 6 in drops in the lead, and he dropped a lot of key passes when he was in Philly from Wentz, and a lot of people hold that against him. But he had a really productive year when he was with Las Vegas. So hopefully he can carry that over to New England and make it work. I know a lot of times a lot of former players say the system there in New England is real complex for them to get. Like Chad Ocho said that, and Chad really said because in my opinion, not saying this is what they was doing, when Chad was there and people were saying that he was having a hard time like understanding the system and understanding the dialogue, I kind of felt like they was kind of making it racial, as if he wasn't smart enough to understand it. And I didn't really care. I didn't really like that. But Chad came out himself and said it wasn't that it was hard to understand. The system was a system. He understood it. It's just that Bill goes to the high hand. He don't care if you Odell Beckham on a wing out there on a post. He said if you open and you got the high hand, that's who he's going to. It doesn't matter if you Jerry Rice. If you hot and you open, guess who getting the ball? So outside of that, players just got to make sure they run the system correct and get open. And Cam can't, like you said, X, he can't have another year like he did last year as far as passing. He was top 10 in rushing touchdowns, which is odd for a quarterback. But he has to have more passing touchdowns. He can't have more interceptions than passing touchdowns. That just can't happen. And I think he only threw for like 2,000 or 3,000 yards. So that just can't happen. But COVID did have take a toll on him. He said it himself. Not having an offseason took a toll on him. Being out for COVID and coming back mid-season took a toll on him. So hopefully all those excuses go out the window. He has a full OTA preseason season with another year with the system, and he does better. But yeah, I definitely got the Patriots winning that division and Bill making his return to the throne with all these offseason moves, spending more guaranteed money, almost as much money he did this year as he did in the last 10 years. So big money Bill, spend that money. He must got a stimulus. That might be what it is. He got that stimulus check.
So I'm gonna make one point to what you just said before Lawrence cooks on this. There's one tight end that you left out of this whole thing, and he played there 2 times. So I'm going to go to his first sack because he was a big part of it. Benjamin Watson. Benjamin Watson was a huge player in New England system, too, before Gronk even showed up. So, yeah, the tight end play has always definitely been a huge thing in New England. But, Lawrence, go ahead and cook on this. What are your thoughts on what the Patriots have done so far this offseason?
For sure. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and you all know me. I've been a person who's like, everything can look cute and everything can look good on paper, but do you all really gel? And that's the thing. Focusing on the Patriots right now, like, yeah, they're getting all these key pieces, but we see there's a learning curve that comes with the New England way. So are we to believe that all these new additions are going to pick up, like, the learning curve that easy and run with it, and they're easily going to be a division contender, let alone a playoff contender? I'm not completely sold on that yet. Am I to believe that somebody like the Bills, who were just as close as anybody to going to the Super Bowl, am I supposed to believe that they're taking a major step back? I believe that they will fall back, but not necessarily to the depth of where they'll lose the division. Or, even like the up-and-coming teams, like a Miami. I believe that Miami is more of a challenger for the Patriots than Buffalo right now. I believe that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the division. And the way that Stephon was looking at that AFC Championship game after they had lost, staying on the field, my man's is coming back hungry next season. So, I mean, I'm glad that they finally figured out what it means to spend money in the offseason and not just, let's save it all up for a rainy day one day, because, those days of, well, Tom is here, he'll save us, those are gone. So this is really going to be a tell to see, does Cam still have anything in the tank? Because last year, okay, yes, it's not an excuse, but I feel like it's also being used as an excuse. Like, yeah, COVID hit, I wasn't there, blase. Cool, I understand that. But I also understand that you chose to go to New England. And as he alluded to, he said that was the best offer for him in that situation. Cool, my guy, I understand that. But we knew before you signed there that COVID was a thing. We knew before you signed there that you had nobody to throw to. We knew before you signed there that New England don't spend money on to bring people in. We knew those factors. So I'll be intrigued to see if Cam can come with that MVP type of energy. I'll also be intrigued to see if Hunter Henry can stay healthy for a complete season, given the fact that I would say he was the best tight end free agent available. So, I mean, yeah, on paper, wow, we got Hunter Henry in the building. Cool. But just like in San Diego, how often is he on the field? I believe a player's best asset is his availability. So without him on the field, it's just like he's out there in street clothes. That don't mean nothing. That can't translate to wins. Jalen Mills, solid pickup,
but I don't think any of us think he's a top corner in the league, shut down corner in the league. So I mean, that's cool too. I mean, even Judson from Baltimore, that's solid pickup. But is he Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett? You know, there are levels to this. So I think that their signings do make them competitive because last year, let's be real, they were a laughing joke. I mean, I feel like that was the first time in decades that people got New England on the schedule like, oh, bro, this is an easy dub right here. Easy dub. So I'm thinking like, all right, maybe Cam can come with some more energy. Maybe these guys are going to do the real athlete thing and listen to the criticism and not just take it the sensitive way, which is the norm nowadays, but actually use it as fuel to motivate them to get a division title, get things done. But, you know, we'll all see. I think they'll finish third in the division this year.
Well, one thing I'm going to say to something you said, I'm definitely going to take the COVID factor into account there. Because that impacts people in different ways. We saw some players automatically come back and bounce back from that. We saw others who, like Cam, they struggled for a great deal of their season with that. So, I mean, thankfully, to my knowledge, I haven't contracted that virus. So I don't know what it feels like to go through that. Hope and pray to God I don't find out what it feels to go through that. But it can have different impacts on the body for different people. Remember when COVID first was a thing, there were reports out there that once you catch the virus, you shouldn't participate in physical activities and exercise for at least 6 months. There were reports out there about that. So I don't know what type of impact that may have seriously had on Cam's body. So I'm not going to hold that against him necessarily. But, yeah, him going to New England knowing he didn't have any weapons to throw the ball to, yeah, you're 100% on the money on that. And Hunter Henry, yeah, he definitely has to stay healthy. It's another tight end talent out there that I thought that New England could have went after. I would have taken a chance on him. I hope a team does because I believe he has a lot to offer. He was just on the Rams, and to me, they didn't utilize him properly, and I'm talking about Gerald Everett. I think he can be a really good tight end in this league if he's given the opportunity to do so. Dev, y'all need a tight end, so I think y'all need to be looking at him.
I hope we get him because not Logan. What's that boy's name? Logan Thomas. Yeah, he's cool, but he's not enough.
He started the season out pretty well at first, though. No cap. Like he started out kind of red, and I was like, oh, I picked him up in fantasy. After like week 5, I was like, man, get this dude off my team.
Well, no. He picked it up in them later weeks. That's when he started balling, like when he started making catches. But I'm just like, he's not dynamic enough. Like he's not a vertical threat. Gerald Everett come in there and open that middle of the field up a little bit if he gets out there. Like Logan was more of a security blanket than anything. Like he wasn't gonna make nobody miss. He wasn't gonna beat linebackers over the middle. Like, you know.
Who gonna throw him the ball though?
Fitzpatrick.
Oh, Fitzmagic. Yeah, I got Fitzmagic at QB now. What's your playoff hopes with Fitzmagic behind center?
Well, in 17 years, he's never made the playoffs. So let's hope he does.
Fitzmagic never made the playoffs?
They said that. That's what they said. That he's never.
Dang, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
He's played for 9 teams and never made the playoffs. That's what they said.
And he's had a chance to make the playoffs twice, most notably this past season when in Week 17 the Dolphins went out there and wet the bed. But one that stands out the most to me that earned him the nickname that Dev just spit out for y'all, for me, was when he was on the Jets in 2015 and Brandon Marshall had a great season. Todd Bowles was in his first season as head coach with that team.
That was such a great team.
Revis was on his last season before Father Time kicked him in the ass.
And the law.
They had a chance to go to the playoffs. All they had to do was win in Week 17. And they went out there and absolutely stumped the joint up. And Ryan Fitzpatrick had a horrible day that day. So
so my thing with Fitzpatrick, I guess I don't know if this is a segue or not, but my thing with Fitzpatrick is just that, like, he's Jekyll and Hyde, like, and plus he's he's the same age as Alex Smith. He's like 37, 38 years old now. But he's a guy that he's gonna have a couple. He's gonna put them numbers up. He's gonna have a couple games where he's just lighting defenses up, and then he gonna turn around and throw like 4 interceptions in a game. And you just get it all. And my thing is, if they're bringing this dude in the building, generally he's not a guy that is gonna finish the season either. The last couple of years, he's had the flip flop a lot. Like, oh, he starts the year as the starter, and then he has a couple bad games, and they're like, well, we're sitting him down, and we're gonna start this young pup. And then the young pup comes in there, whoever that would be in this case, either Heineke or Kyle Allen, and then they stink it up, and then we go back to Fitz. Like, that's what his journey has been the last few years. And I'm just like, my thing is, bringing him in there kind of buys you time to build the team around him. So, like, you can pay some other guys. You can hopefully draft well, maybe even draft the successor, whether it's in the draft or whatever, or you just basically build that team up around him, because you cannot, in the team's current build, expect him to just come in there and light it up. Like, you need to add some weapons. They got some, because, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, they got some guys, but you got to add to that. You can't be complacent. But, yeah.
So
winning your division.
With that being said, let me just bring up another quarterback coming up in the draft who I really think y'all should take a look at. And I think he'll be right there in the second or third round for y'all, in all honesty, because he's losing some steam. But it doesn't hurt to me if you take a chance on this guy. I think y'all should really give a look at Kyle Trask out of Florida. He was one of the Heisman finalists this year. I'm not saying he can come to the league and be a franchise quarterback, but y'all have to start figuring out an answer somewhere. And I know I told you weeks ago I thought that y'all were going to end up with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I honestly was hoping I was going to be wrong about that, because Washington is one of those teams on my radar that they have a bright future ahead of them. And this doesn't help them going forward. To me, it only kind of sets them back a little. And it's not the type of move you want to make when the Dallas Cowboys just signed Dak Prescott to the type of deal they just signed him to. And you got the New York Giants up and coming as well. Not saying I trust Daniel Jones, but you got them up and coming as well. They have a ravaging defense that's coming up as well too. So maybe they thought that they could just buy themselves another year of time with this. But I feel like the process for you guys to start looking for your future quarterback for Washington football team fans is now. And Kyle Trask, in the later rounds, if he's on the board in the second or third round per se, because y'all don't have too many holes on your team. So if you were to spend a second round pick on him, I don't believe it would necessarily hurt you. But if he's there in the third round, I definitely think y'all need to take a look at him there. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that I wasn't originally too hot on Kyle Trask. Like, he scares me a little bit, just because I feel like he's a good college quarterback but doesn't really translate to the NFL game. And I don't know what it is, but he just seems like one of those prospects where it's like, oh, like he could become one of those guys that just doesn't pan out. And in Washington, I have PTSD as a Washington fan, because I've seen too many dudes coming in here now, like, at this. But I do think if he comes in and can sit behind the guy, because one thing I'll say about Fitzpatrick is, as much as I don't like him on the field, he's a good mentor. Like, he seemed like a dude that take a young guy under his wing and teach him some things. Like that, he's pretty good at that. So if he can come in and sit down, if we can get him, like you said, in like a second or third round and don't have to like trade up to get him, I wouldn't totally be against that.
What about Mitch? Yeah, like
hell no, absolutely nope.
Duh, why are people out on Mitch? I don't understand why people are out on Mitch, honestly.
I'm not out on Mitch. I'm out on Mitch in Chicago, just simply because I don't believe they have the personnel to help him anymore at this point. And they have shown him time and time again that they don't believe in him. And once you you with somebody, you with a group, or you with a team, and they continually show you that they don't believe in you, you're not going to go out there and give your best self out there to them because your heart and your soul isn't going to be into it. Now,
And I
with
just
that being said, I'm not saying Mitch can go somewhere else and completely turn it around and become this future Hall of Fame quarterback. No, but I do believe that he can go out there and help a team win just simply because when Mitch Trubisky got back in the fold for the Chicago Bears this year, they went on a little run and they at least did make it to the playoffs. And he's made it to the playoffs twice as the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And I do like some of the weapons that Washington has a little bit more than what Chicago has. It just, and I just think maybe he should be somebody that y'all would look at too. And he would be a last resort type of person for me. I would look at building the future around somebody like Kyle Trask and going forward with Ryan Fitzpatrick this year before going with that move. But I understand what Matt is saying with that right there. But let me go ahead and toss this question over to Matt too, because the Houston Texans signed Tyrod Taylor today. So to me, that's a sign even closer that they are going to be getting Deshaun Watson up out of there before the start of the season. So with that being said, if Watson is not the quarterback in Houston, who exactly do you think it is that Houston should be looking at in this draft if he's available on the board? Could Kyle Trask be a person that you look at as well for Houston going forward in the future as well in some of the later rounds?
The quarterback who should be on the board for the Houston Texans is whoever it is, the number one prospect in the 2022 draft. That's who should be on the board for the quarterback as the Houston Texans next quarterback. Our answer is not in this year's draft. Because you know why? Because we traded our first round pick. You know what pick we had? We had the third pick. You know who has that pick? We had the Miami Dolphins have that pick. You know what the Miami Dolphins is doing with that pick? They are potentially using that pick to trade to us back our own pick to get our star quarterback. What is the irony in that? We're going to send you back a pick that was originally yours to get your franchise quarterback that you've been dying to get, that you have not had in your franchise day of being born. Since the day the Texans have been born, we have not had a franchise quarterback, a legit one, since we got Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
And now
So with that being said, if that does end up happening, if you guys do end up trading Deshaun Watson in a package to the Miami Dolphins that includes the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft, if Trey Lance is on the board, you don't think your team should take a shot at him?
No, not at all. No, I'm not a believer in Trey Lance. I was just about to say the Washington. I see on my career earlier today that the Washington football team may take Trey Lance, and honestly, I think Washington. Just to talk on that real fast, I'm gonna talk about the Texans. I can talk about the Texans all day. Just a rant, honest. It's not even discussion, just a rant, a hateful, pure, mean rant because I'm just upset with my organization. So the Washington, I think y'all best suited is finding y'all quarterback in the free agency market or trading for a quarterback because I feel like y'all got such a good, ready to win team now that if y'all get the right quarterback to come in and right that ship. And like just not even right the ship, just steer the ship because y'all going in the right direction. I feel like that can take y'all over the hump. Like to potentially have the option, like it's hard to say because you're like, who can we get? Who can we get? You just never know when the option will open for a quarterback that come available. Because nobody would have thought that Russell be available right now. Nobody would have thought that Deshaun be available right now. Nobody would have thought that Dak Prescott was a week away from hitting the free agent mark, and that's a completely free agent. So I feel like y'all gotta wait for the opportunity, and I ain't saying wait 5 years because defenses don't usually last that long. As far as being elite, they usually last. They have like a good 5 years in them. Then they kind of like players start leaving, or you just get old. It's hard to play that elite level as far as a defensive player, especially linemen and linebackers for multiple years. When you start losing pieces and your body, you start getting those hits. But yeah, that's my answer for Washington. But as far as Texans, I feel like we should just not try to get a quarterback at all, man. If we lose Deshaun, just throw Tyrod in there. And I hate it for Tyrod. He seems always to be that plug-in quarterback for the future quarterback to come in. He's just like a placeholder quarterback. And that sucks for him because he never really gets a true opportunity because
He a black Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, honestly, he's like a black Fitzpatrick journeyman. He just goes places to fill in, to be the quarterback for the time being. Like when he was at I ain't gonna say it started there, but when he was at Cleveland for Baker, Then he went to the Chargers for Justin, and they sabotaged him because he was playing too good. So they said, let's get this dude out of here so we can get our boy in. So they cut his chest open in the middle of a game, and now he's about to be the same thing for us in Texans. So it's just a tough situation for him, especially in this situation. It's a tough situation for our new head coach, our 65-year-old head coach. I believe he's 65, in Cutley. So as far as the Texans, though, I just feel like we got to play the free agent game right now because we don't have our first pick, we don't have a second pick, and honestly, I wouldn't mind if we traded Deshaun. I wouldn't be upset. I don't want to lose Deshaun, but a lot of free agents that are out there right now that I'm surprised that we haven't picked up yet. As far as like wide receivers, like a lot of the wide receivers are out right now. They haven't picked up. I know Devon talked about it earlier as far as the wide receivers being available because this year's class is so deep. So teams are waiting to see what wide receiver they can get out the draft before they go out and pay one. X's number one favorite wide receiver of all time, Juju Smith-Schuster, is still available, and I know that's his guy. That's his number one guy, and he's still available. And you got guys out there like the guy from Detroit, Will Fuller from us. He's still out there. So it's some good guys out there. So Curtis Samuel still from for Carolina. He's still out there. So it's some good guys out there that can fill in some spots. But a lot of
Jeffrey.
Yeah, some good guys out there. So Jadeveon and Conley, he's not a wide receiver, but he was like the cream of the crop at one point. He was like the most talked about draft pick in the last 10 years coming out, and he's just like sitting as a free agent. Like he's a completely free agent. Nobody hasn't picked him up. Nobody paid him big money. It's like, was he all hype? I know Lawrence loved talking about overhyped players and bashing them, but like he's starting to look like one of those overhyped players because he's just completely free agent and nobody picked him up or paid him yet. So I don't know if he's waiting for a big payday. I don't know if he got it on the table. He just haven't decided on it yet. But yes, it's a lot of good free agents out there. But as far as my Texans, I know I said a lot. I just want them to just tank. Honestly, just tank it out.
Right. Two things what you said there. Number one, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. TikTok is still on the board. So teams go line up for your services and take a social media darling. I am so glad that he is on his way out of Pittsburgh. He never lived up to the billing that he was supposed to live up to. Y'all have fun with Mr. Corvette, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to give y'all a team that I thought that Tyrod Taylor probably or at least should have been interested in his services. I'm not going to say that he should have gone to because I don't know if there was even interest there. And a lot of people aren't necessarily going to like me saying this, but what if you send him to Tampa Bay as the contingency plan to Tom Brady in case Tom Brady were to go down? Because they don't have that backup quarterback in the building right now. You trust Blaine Gabbert? I know I don't. You trust Josh Rosen? He's giving me nothing to trust. So I thought that would have been a good contingency plan for him if he were to go to Tampa Bay and be Tom Brady's backup. You always need to have a contingency plan in a sport like football and in a league like the NFL because anybody can go down at any given time, and you need to have somebody who you can easily, and I hate to use this term because Matt just used it, but you can plug in and they can keep things going in the right direction. And Tyrod, with the Chargers last season, before that incident went down there, he looked like he may have had them going in the right direction, even though it was very early on in the season. How about Tyrod in Cleveland before getting injured and losing his job to Baker Mayfield?
I'm surprised we ain't go after.
Exactly. And also, you can't forget what he did with Buffalo in 2017, even though I know that was 4 years ago. Listen, that was still the abysmal Buffalo Bills organization. They had not been to the playoffs for 18 consecutive years up to that point. So I give him all props and kudos for that.
That was probably his best year, honestly, when he did that.
Speaking of quarterbacks who are being used as a contingency plan, by the way, it should be noted that just a few hours ago, Jacoby Brissett signed a 1-year deal with the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, didn't know that.
Just some interest there for those who might want to know what might be going on with the quarterback situation in Miami. I'm not saying that he's going to give Tua a run, but there's too many reports out there that the Dolphins organization and Dolphins players, they don't trust Tua necessarily to be their long long-term plan. And I believe that Jacoby Brissett is somebody in this league that can play if you put him into the right type of situation. But with that being said, let's go to our resident Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't understand how he is that. But we'll go to Lawrence really quickly and just get his thoughts on Ryan Fitzpatrick now potentially being a starting quarterback in his division.
I mean, it's right. Like I said, it's Fitzpatrick. I feel like, he kind of like that woman, that she knows she don't want to get with you, but if she know that you're gonna pay for the food and pay for other things in life, she gonna keep you on the roster. And I feel like that's what it is with Fitzpatrick. It's like his bargaining chip's like, bro, I know I can win you some games, dog. I know I can, put butts in the seats. I know I can make you think we go to the playoffs. But as X alluded, when it comes down to that one game we need a dub in, he gonna ghost you. And I feel like he at a point in his career is like, man, look, I ain't even in it for the rings no more. I ain't in it for the accolades. I'm in it so that my kids can be taken care of. And if that's your motivation, cool, dog. Like, that's cool. I just know this. You're not. He don't want to be a winner. He don't want to be a winner. So, that's how I feel about Fitzpatrick. But on the Trubisky point, I feel like the reason why people talk down on him so much is because the media hyped him up so much, and he was taken above the Mahomes, the Deshaun's, and we see what they're doing. It's like, someone told us you were supposed to be them, dog. Why aren't you them? So even if Buddy is, I'm talking about, even if he's better than 50% of the quarterbacks, but if he's not doing what Pat doing or Deshaun doing, people gonna look at him like, bro, someone told us that he was supposed to be the savior. And being a 500 quarterback isn't it. So I feel like he's a product of the media hyping his name up, because people were out there saying Mitchell was going to be that guy. Like, forget Deshaun, forget Pat. Mitchell is your guy. So when you come into a spot and you can't even, somewhat win, no matter what you do after that, people will look at you like, bro, what are you talking about? Don't talk to me, dog.
All right, I'm going to just say this really quickly. If you plan to continue, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just got to say this. The people who you were talking about who thought that Mitchell was going to be that guy, I think they all were either working in the Chicago Bears organization during that time, or they still work there now. And the analysts who may have been on TV saying that, I'm not so sure they're still analysts on TV, because I don't remember hearing Mitchell Trubisky being this overhyped quarterback that was coming out necessarily. Now, I remember him being somebody who may have been in that top 10 conversation that somebody may have taken a swing on. But as far as him being an overall quarterback prospect that all of these teams were necessarily looking at, and if they had a chance to trade up and get him, they were going to do it. Nah, I heard more trade talk necessarily about Jordan Love being that guy than I heard about Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm just being honest with you when I say that. I mean, I watched Mitchell Trubisky play at North Carolina. I wasn't overly impressed with him in any way whatsoever. With that being said, I'm not going to take away the fact that he has led the Chicago Bears to 2 playoff berths in the past 3 seasons. So I believe he can be a winning quarterback in this league in the right situation. I say winning from the standpoint of he can at least get you to the postseason. Can he win you a Super Bowl? Nah, I don't believe that in any way whatsoever. And I want to touch on the Mahomes and Deshaun point as well. Chicago, no doubt about it, would be in a much better situation organization-wise from the quarterback position if they had drafted one of those 2 guys. But with one of those 2 guys be in a better position organization-wise had they gone to the Chicago Bears organization, because clearly we see that they still have a lot of dysfunction in that place. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are both on the hot seat going into this year. And they have made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. They have one of the best defensive staffs from a personnel and player standpoint in the league right now. So there is still a lot of dysfunction in that organization for there to even be talks about guys like that necessarily being on the hot seat. When I look at the Chicago Bears roster right now, I compare it to what the Kansas City Chiefs were when Andy Reid first showed up there and he had a quarterback who many considered maybe just a little above the middle of the pack with Alex Smith and an aging Jamal Charles and aging Dwayne Bowe. Eric Berry was still in his prime when Andy Reid first got there. Of course, we know what happened with him and the cancer diagnosis that happened later on. He still came back a year after that and was still a savage out there on the field. I compare their roster to that per se, and Andy Reid was never put on the hot seat for any of that. And for the record, Andy Reid had not won any Super Bowls when the Kansas City Chiefs hired him. So this is just the Chicago Bears dysfunction as a whole to me, which is why I'm going to go ahead and segue into the next topic. I don't understand why Russell Wilson's name keeps popping up as rumored to wanting to play for the Chicago Bears outside of the fact that they are a big market in a big city, and it would be great for him and his wife. Outside of that, I don't understand it, because how do we know Allen Robinson is going to stay there too much longer? Outside of Allen Robinson, they don't really have anybody on the offensive side of the ball from a personnel standpoint with weapons. Yes, they have Tariq Cohen, but what is he going to come back as? Remember, he's coming back from a serious ACL injury, so we don't really know what he is. I don't know if Jimmy Graham is hit or miss on any given week. So what are y'all thoughts on Russell Wilson wanting to go to Chicago? Before somebody chimes in, me personally, I think he should want to be trying to find his way to the Washington football team, where there is some stability in management, there is some stability in coaching, and they have some damn good players out there on that field.
Man, I never thought I'd see the day where somebody would say that with a straight face. Man, it feels good to be that team that we're talking about like that, like in general anyway. But I think that Chicago, like, I feel like I'm a little bit higher on Matt Nagy than a lot of people. I actually like him as a coach. Like, I like his offensive schemes, and I do think that he was hampered a little bit, especially last year, by Mr. Trubisky and some of the other injuries that they had, like with Tariq Cohen and, you know, just the rotating parts that they've had. But I think that he actually is a decent offensive mind, I think. And I think putting Russell Wilson with him would actually do them some good. But
all right, before you continue, let me just say this. I believe they would be good as long as they were not under the Hallis and McCaskey family owning the Chicago Bears, because there's just too much dysfunction there with that. See, I agree with you on the Matt Nagy point as far as him being a good offensive mind and being an overall good coach, which is why it doesn't make sense to me that those rumors exist about him possibly this being his last season in Chicago.
right, yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely an ownership thing, because at this point, especially when you look at all the quarterbacks that they've had, Chicago has never had a franchise quarterback. Like, even the 85 Bears, like Jim McMahon was just not – he wasn't like a household name. You know, he had talent, but he just wasn't that dude. Rex Grossman, like, really? You know, some of the names they've had. So, I mean, Watson could go there and instantly become the best thing that's ever happened to them. And I feel like, to a certain extent, some players I think can help overcome organizational dysfunction to an extent, like to a point. Like, you look in DC, and at least now, with Snyder looking like he's going to step back and let Ron run things, you know, ain't nobody in here saying that Dan Snyder is like the picture of ownership in the NFL. So, you know, but yet everybody's talking about how much the organization is changing and they have a good culture there after just 1 year. None of that got nothing to do with Dan Snyder. So if Russ goes to Chicago with McCaskey's and Hollis people and them running things, I feel like he could help kind of with his knowledge and his experience and the things he's been able to do in his career. He could help them. But I do think, and this is kind of biased, but I do think Washington would be a better place for him because, one, he's from the area. He's from Virginia. He grew up there. Two, like you said, any quarterback that comes to Washington, I mean, that's an instant plug-in because you got that defense is ridiculous. Mainly the D-line. They got to fix the back end of it a little bit. But that D-line is crazy. The O-line is not awful. I mean, you got an all-pro guard in Brandon Sheriff. You got some talent around him, of course. And then you have Terry McLaurin. And if you can either draft the receiver or get somebody in free agency put on the other side of him, you got Gibson and McKissick at running back. Like, DC would be a better fit for us. But and plus the division itself, like aside from Dallas, like what the hell, like really, So I think that Chicago or Washington would be great, but Washington would just be slightly better, bias aside. Like
I would say that one, to the Rex Grossman point, Mans did bring the ship home. They didn't win the Super Bowl?
No, he got them there, but they did not win it.
They lost to Peyton.
Okay, for sure. I mean, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, at the end of the day, only one team brings the ship home. So I mean, that does go further than the point. I feel like the stigma of franchise quarterback is thrown around too loosely. I feel like it, and to me, in my opinion, it should be what quarterback fits us the best to put us in the position to be a championship contender. Because you can put Aaron Rodgers right now, you can put him in Buffalo. That doesn't mean he'll fit that scheme, and that doesn't mean he'll be the same person. But does that mean Aaron Rodgers is going to be less of a franchise quarterback? That's not true. It has to fit the team as well as the quarterback. So, I mean, I felt like Rex for that time fit that team. I feel like Tony Romo at his time fit the Cowboys. So I feel like it's the term franchise quarterback doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. Like Tom Brady is a franchise quarterback. Well, we see him just go to Tampa Bay, but I don't know if you can put that same thing together for a Washington. And so, but to your point of why would Russ want to go to Chicago, as was alluded to earlier, you go to Chicago and you win. That's cemented. That's some stuff that few people do that. Like, especially in this area, like we're going over how they haven't had a franchise quarterback or elite quarterback. You go to Chicago, and I think that was his process behind it. Sometimes we see the people who just want to win, so they'll go team up with other players so they can win. Sometimes we see the people who want the money. Marvin Jones is the person who sticks out to me, signing with Jacksonville today, who just, they just want, hey, I need to get paid. But some people go for the legacy bill. And it's like, if I win in this city, after all that's happened through the city, that Super Bowl that I lost, all the other kind of stuff is like, you can bring it up, but I just won with the Bears. The Bears. So I feel like that can play a factor in why he put them on his team. Not to mention, I know, like, shit, when he retired, that'd be a perfect place to be a stay-at-home dad at. But also, I feel as if though, Dad, you talked about Washington. I mean, you when you were going down the weapons that he listed, the only person that you can legitimately go up to any casual NFL fan and be like, all right, look at the weapons, who scares you, is Terry McLaurin. Like, that's the only person, legitimately being real, is the only dude y'all got that is not only a deep threat, but is a legitimate wide receiver. So I feel like, like the defense right now, like year one, like Chase, bro, good stuff, bro. Like, I'm never one to give a person flowers year one because it's like, bro, especially when you come across a fictional character like Chase Young, built the way he is, man, if you're not defensive player rookie of the year, bro, what were you doing? So it's kind of like, the things are looking good, but this isn't like Pee-wee football. This isn't like, hey, man, if you show up, you get said award, bro, for just participating. No, bro, This is like stuff for real life. These are people's livelihoods. So I wouldn't be like, hey, man, he looked good over here. He did this last year. Like I told y'all earlier today, I'm a person that lives in the present. So, like, I'm like all these people who pick Gonzaga to win. What are you doing for me now? And I don't see Washington as a contender for the the division moving forward, I see y'all as like a foe. I don't see y'all as like a lightweight, like it's Washington. I don't see anybody in the division like that. But the NFC East, I will say, is a division where it changes year to year.
Right.
Like you'll
Nobody's
have
repeated.
Exactly. You'll have a year where the Eagles come out and just straight dominate board to board. And then you'll have a year like this past year where they're terrible. You have a year where, you think the Cowboys are legit until they show their true colors.
Then there was that one year where everybody in the division was like 7-1,
everybody
6-2,
was
yeah.
up there. So I feel like to say like the NFC East isn't like that. It's kind of like, okay, well, if we're going to use the COVID excuse for Cam Newton, we also have to use the COVID excuse in terms of the whole league in a whole. Nobody had OTAs. Nobody had an off season. So it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, all right, but we're going to put COVID for Cam because, we rock with Cam. He a brother. We got to see black quarterbacks strive. But then when you talk about the team aspects of the thing, it's kind of like, man, ain't nobody NFC East doing shit. Ain't nobody over here doing stuff. But it's kind of like, man, COVID is serious. Like, these guys depend on OTAs to build chemistry up. They depend on preseason to be able to see, all right, if I throw so many balls to this man's left shoulder on the inside route, how is he going to turn on ball 8? How's he going to turn on ball 20? So I just feel as if though Russell putting Chicago on his list could be a legacy move with a little stay-at-home dad in there over, I want to win a Super Bowl, or going to New Orleans or going to Dallas, whatever the case may be. Any of the other rosters might fit him better, Ross, on a personnel standpoint.
Okay, let me just say this before Matt chimes in, and this is kind of where I want Matt to chime in. Here's why Chicago doesn't make any damn sense to me. Russell is trying to leave the dysfunction that the Seattle Seahawks organization has right now, which we were always told, or we were always put under the belief they're one of the most functional organizations in the NFL. Well, it doesn't appear to be that way right now. So you're trying to leave from one dysfunctional organization to go to another? That doesn't make any damn sense to me. Matt, talk to me. Like, tell me, why you think Russell put Chicago on his list? And also, do you think that Washington should be a team that should be a little more on his radar that nobody is talking about?
Okay, so I think Chicago was on the list because the name quality is as far as winning in Chicago, like Lawrence was saying. They're dysfunctional in a way, but they're not dysfunctional like a lot like the Jets dysfunction. Like it's levels to it. It's levels to the dysfunction. And so they not like the Jets or something like that, but they are dysfunctional because they made some bad decisions. But overall, they're not a bad organization in my opinion. Like I remember I seen I can't think of who the guy is, but he's from Chicago. He's a big name in Chicago. He did an interview, and they asked him, what's more important to Chicagoans, the Bears winning 1 or Jordan winning 6? He said, who's the biggest name, Michael Jordan or Sweetness, Walter Payton? And he said Bears winning 1 and Sweetness is a bigger name that holds more weight in Chicago than Michael Jordan winning 6. And I just thought that was insane, but it just shows how much weight the Chicago Bears hold in that city, Chicago. Like they love their football there, and he probably just wants to be in a situation like that, and he sees them as far as defensive wise, like they defense is it's not like how they were like most, because Chicago's always been known for a good defense at the end of the day. So they not good like that, but they still got some ballers on defense, and their offense is not that bad. And I feel like you can plug him in there and take them over the hump and get them where they want to be, because people forget so fast that with Mitch as quarterback, they still won double-digit games one year, and they went 8-8 another year. So it ain't like they just sucked with Mitch. It's just like Mitch just wasn't the dude to get them over their hump. So I don't see Chicago as a bad destination. And just to touch on your point about the Seahawks organization being bad, I never seen the Seahawks organization being a bad organization. Like you said, we were all led to believe that their organization was a good organization, and now it's coming out that Russ is having problems with him. And I'm just not gonna be quick to say because he's having problems with it, that's gonna make him a bad organization. It's just that he's seeing differences with the front office considering that Pete Carroll had so much control over the front office because he's been there so long. He had so much leeway, and they just trusting him so much to make the best decision for the team. He kind of has pulled with them like Bill has pulled in New England in a sense, and he hasn't even won half as much as Bill won. It's kind of like saying that Drake has as much pull as Kanye. Like Drake with the Grammys, Drake doesn't have as much pull with Kanye because Kanye won 5 times many as Grammys as Drake. So you wouldn't say that. So it's kind of like that.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So
He's
yeah.
so disrespectful tonight. All I got to say is 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. As a 1, 2, 3 party.
1, 2, 3.
You should have invited me. He about Bow Wow in there. He could at least have me up in there.
Chill up, my man. Chill up,
Going
my
1, 2,
man.
3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 1, 2, 3 part. I like it. So yeah, but as far as Devon with your Washington football team, man, I'm sorry to pile on with Lawrence, man, but I'm not a big believer in Washington. I know I literally just said if they was to get a good quarterback, that'll take them like over the hump as far as being a contender for the division. But that's most teams, honestly. Most teams could be like that. Like it's few teams that even if they get a elite quarterback, they still will struggle. Prime example, my Houston Texans. We had an elite quarterback and we still suck. That's a prime example right there. So some teams will still suck if they have an elite quarterback, but most teams, if they get an elite quarterback, they have enough talent to get over the hump. And I feel like that would be good, same for the Washington. But overall, I'm not a believer in the Washington football team. Not to pile on to you, Devon, because I know that's just quiet. I actually have a line brother that's a Washington football fan, and me and him got in a big argument about me saying how I'm not a believer in them they show like so much wrong-headed decisions throughout the years for so long, and I was just dropping facts at him about them not making the playoffs, how long it been for them not having 10-win seasons, how long this did, and I was just dropping it, and he was just getting so mad because he was like, none of that matters now because we're a better organization now, and I'm thinking like, why y'all just went 7-9?
It's only 1 year. No, that's what I'm saying. It's only been 1 year.
Yeah, they're like, what makes y'all such an elite organization now? Because y'all just went 7-9. Y'all didn't even go 500.
Thank you.
I'm not about to give that to y'all. Like y'all, everybody agrees that Washington had pretty good talent on that team. In a weak NFC East, they had pretty good talent on their team. Bill Belichick was in the AFC East with 2 teams that potentially could have made it with 2 double-digit win teams, and he went 7-9. And everybody all said that he had no talent on his team. So I'm not trying to say Ron Rivera and Bill Belichick are on the same level as coaching status, because that's far beyond the case. Bill is a magician. He's a GOAT as far as when it comes to coaching. But yeah, I'm just not so early to give Washington the flowers because I'm not a full believer in them yet. They do have some talent. Chase is the truth. Trace Young is the real deal. That defensive line y'all have is the real deal. Y'all get some good corners out there, and they will be straight. I mean, they really don't need no elite corners. They probably, as good as that line is, I might can suit up, Devon. I might move to DC and stay at your house and suit up.
That's the thing, though. They let Ronald Darby walk out the door, and I'm upset about that because dude led the league in pass breakups. He was like one of the top corners in the league. He just didn't have the numbers. They let him walk out the door and go sign with Denver. That pissed me off when I saw that.
Yeah. So that's
he's from here too. That's the other part. I was like, I want
to keep good line. So the cornerbacks and the linebackers don't have to hold up long on the receivers because the line's going to get to you. You can't hold them off for long, so they're going to get to you. So they just need some decent quality cornerbacks and linebackers and things like that. And they got to get of course we all know they got to get a quarterback. But I feel like a thing that they should really look into is getting somebody to be on the opposite end of Terry. Because Terry's a dog. Like he's the real deal. Like I know we talk about Chase being a real deal, but Terry's been the real deal since his rookie year and last year. So Terry he's no joke. So
they were teammates at Ohio State. That's the funniest part about that.
Exactly. So and Dwayne was too, but that didn't help him. But yeah. So
You're right.
But yeah, man. So I'm not a big believer in Washington. I want them to do better. but I got the Cowboys winning the division by far. By far, I got Cowboys going double-digit wins this year by far. And I feel like the Giants may give Washington a bigger pushback than they think they will as far as overall squads. But yeah, man, that's my decision.
You know that I'm a believer in the New York Giants defense. Now, am I
Oh
a
yeah,
believer in their team?
you did. You hopped on that. You hopped on
Not
that
necessarily.
earlier than I thought. You hopped on that way earlier than I heard anybody else hop on that. Honestly,
it was around week 5, week 6 in the season. Now, I was wrong as far as them winning the division and going to the playoffs. With that being said, and it was still a losing record, they did make strides. You saw 3 teams in that division too, including Dallas too, even towards the end of the season. They started making strides and playing a little better than they did at the start of the year. So I believe the NFC East is actually going to be a lot more interesting next year than a lot of people do. But I do think y'all are sleeping on the Washington football team right now, just being honest with you. I believe they're an elite quarterback away from being a contender and playing in the NFC Championship. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying they're going to be playing on the other side of that game, but a legitimate contender for it, yeah, I do believe they will. And before we go into the next topic, I do just got to say this. It's really ironic to me how the New York Knicks ownership with James Dolan and the Washington football team ownership with Dan Snyder, how they both seem to be looking like they're taking a step back right now, letting management and coaching actually go out there and do their thing, and their teams actually look functional at the same damn time. That's just real ironic to me right now. Speaking of some basketball, not to pile on,
both of them.
Not to pile on, Matt, but the Atlanta Hawks beat the Houston Rockets tonight, 119-107. That is now the Rockets' 17th consecutive L in a row. I feel so bad for Steven Silas. Let me just say that right now.
Matt don't feel bad. Matt know who he want. Matt know who he want.
Hey,
I'm gonna call in and say, "Hey, bro, I need y'all to lose a couple in a row."
Man, we got to get K. We got to get K.
And he a hometown kid too, so
yeah, we got to get K, man. Hey, Lawrence, I heard old boy at Gonzaga was pretty good though. Jalen, not saying he on K level, but I heard he was pretty good.
Jay Suggs.
Yeah, Jay Suggs.
Yeah. He valid, but he like the 5th overall point guard. But like the point guard is deep. Point guard's position is deep.
Yeah, man.
I get too deep into it. But yeah, bro.
It's been bad for us. Hey, we showing signs though. Cause we've been losing ever since we lost Woods, and they've been real delicate with him and not rushing him back. But when we had Woods, we was like on a 10-game winning streak. He shows to be a really good player. He was potentially an all-star. He would have been an all-star this year when all these players that got put out. He definitely would have got in if he stayed healthy. So we showing promise. And KPJ came back. Kevin Porter Jr. He came back. He's balling, right? He's playing pretty well. So we just gonna lose out this season. And like you said, I feel bad for Steven Silas too. But honestly, I'm not sold on our owner, man. I can't think of his name. Fatita, something like that.
Tillman Fertitta. Everybody's favorite saying about him is that he's George Steinbrenner 2.0. And Matt, before you continue with your point, let me just say this for a lot of people out there so they understand how this actually goes. George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees when they were already a well put together organization. Now he went out there and he added key free agents there in the 70s, and of course they went on to win World Series. When it came down to actually having to rebuild a team and put a team together, he struggled very mightily at that. And when he was basically banned from the game for a few years, that allowed management to go out and draft players and put together a farm system that would later go on to win multiple World Series championships. Most notably, the core 4 Yankees of Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and a 5th man who doesn't get the recognition that he deserves in that dynasty as well, Bernie Williams. I don't know how Bernie continues to get forgotten about and all of that, but that's how the Yankees ultimately became the Yankees again. And yes, George was a big spender. And I believe Tillman Fertitta will be a big spender too. but you really got to understand the waters that you're stepping in. Look, the Rockets' previous owner, I know that there were things out there about him, but one thing I will say, even when they weren't making the playoffs, he was at least putting an interesting product out there on the floor. Even before they acquired James Harden, they had an interesting team. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were interesting.
Tell me this though, because I'm not completely knowledgeable of the owner you spoke about for the Yankees, George. Why do you know? Not saying you do know. Do you know why they make that comparison? Like, is it something that he's doing as far as management wise that makes him bring that comparison up?
Yes, it's how they say that he rules his organization with an iron fist, and losing is absolutely unacceptable. And which is another reason why I say I feel so bad for Stephen Silas, because if he honestly does rule it like that, we might see Stephen Silas looking for another job after this season through some things that aren't even his fault right now. I mean, and what we're learning, listen, John Wall, talent-wise, he's still got a lot in the tank. Not exactly a winning player anymore. It does not help that Christian Woods went down as early as he did in the season. I believe, like you said, Matt, he would have been in the running to be an all-star this year if he could have stayed healthy. Victor Oladipo, love Vic, but he doesn't appear to be a winning player anymore, somebody that you can necessarily build around per se. It's just a lot going on right now with that organization. I'm not going to call it dysfunction because I don't think we're at that point with it, but it should be noted that players who are not there anymore and a lot of players who are still with the organization have been very, very vocal and public with wanting to get out of the Houston Rockets organization.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't want to say that this is dysfunction, but it's not looking good there right now. And honestly, for your sake, I hope the ping pong balls fall your way and you end up getting Cade Cunningham and he comes to the league and he's everything that we believe he can be.
Yeah. See, that's my thing. That's why I asked you that question. I want to know the actual comparison that was being made. And that's kind of what I thought, that he kind of ruled it like that. Because Stephen A. kind of spoke on it like he just obsessed with winning. He's going to do anything to make sure that he gets the winning that he wants. But my thing is that he came in and messed up a situation that was maximizing what they had to the degree. Like James out there pushing, not he lost, pushing that Golden State team to a game 7 with Kevin Durant, which nobody even pushed them to a game 5 in that run, was the max that Houston had in them. And he still wanted more out of that. And for him to kind of – and Daryl Morey did it to himself by speaking on the China situation. But to let Daryl Morey walk and to push James Harden out the door. I'm not saying he pushed James Harden out the door, but to make the situation so toxic that James Harden want to leave, it's like it's what I'm not liking. I don't like kind of what he's doing so far. It's like he didn't realize how good he had it. Is what I'm trying to say. Like he felt like he couldn't got more. And he could have, if more they maximized, they could have do. So he wanted to start over, and he kind of getting what he asked for right now. So it's just the first year; it's not even the whole full season yet. So I'm not gonna just bail out just like that. So I'm still go hang on and see what we can do. See what we do in the draft. See what we do this offseason. See what kind of moves we make. John Wall still under a big contract, paying him like $40 million. So it's gonna be tough to move him. Basically gonna be gone after the season because he's a free agent. So still a lot we can do. Go have Woods back. Like I said, Kevin Porter Jr. He's looking pretty good. Just gonna see what we can do as far as moving forward. So I'm not gonna bail out quick, but I just haven't liked the beginning so far because I felt like he didn't appreciate how good he had it, because I feel like Daryl Morey and James Harden was maximizing what they had to the utmost degree, and he still didn't think that was enough. And now he's seeing, okay, well, you think that's not enough, we'll do it without us. And now he's seeing how it is to be without him. It's kind of like the sense the grass is not always green on the other side in a way. And I don't blame him for wanting more, though. Like, of course, you don't want to never just keep getting close. You want to win. I don't blame him for that, but I feel like he didn't appreciate how good he had it when he had James and Daryl Morey. But now we're going to see what he does. Hopefully he kind of learned from that situation and he does better. If we get Cade, I don't know if we'll get Cade, but Lawrence said this draft class is pretty deep, and I hope it is, because if the ping pong balls don't fall our way, we need something. Like I'm hoping on this draft class we get something, because if we don't, I don't know if I'm going to sit through a trust the process situation like the Philly of 3-4 losing seasons in a row. I'm not sure if I want to go through that. Like, I'm good with this one losing season, but after that, I'm trying to get back in playoff contention and competing for the playoff spot. So after this season, I'm cool, but like I want to get back up there, and that's pretty much all it is. And like I'm not ready to jump ship just yet. Like the Texans, I'm telling, I got a toe in the water. I'm damn near ready to jump ship. I probably got 2 feet in the water. I'm just trying to see how cold it is and if I need my floaty or not, because I'm about to jump ship. Cause I'm hanging on though. I'm sitting on the edge, because if they make one more boneheaded decision, I am gone. Because the Texans have been messing up for so long, and it's like thing after thing after thing, and it's like, oh my God. But I can't say that for the Rockets, because this is their first time they made a decision that I wasn't cool with, and it's after the fact we got a new owner, and it's after the fact we lost Daryl Morey. But like X just said, every year before this, we always been in contention as far as making playoffs. Even when we've been bad, we shook back that next season. It been one point when Jeff Van Gundy was our coach, our best player was Luther Head. I'm pretty sure most people don't even know who the hell Luther Head is. He was our best player at one point. He was our starting point guard, and we was led by Luther Head and Louis Scola and Aaron Brooks. Those are our best players. So, and Jeff Van Gundy was our head coach. So I've been rocking with the Rockets through a lot of tough times, and I'm just gonna ride this out as of right now.
Well, here's one thing I will say to everything that you said right there. I agree with you on the fact that the owner should not have opened his mouth after that team was coming off of a berth in the Western Conference Finals. He should not have opened up his mouth and been as public and as vocal with how, not necessarily that he was unhappy with how the season ended, because when it doesn't end with a championship, yeah, you're unhappy. But when the rumors started coming out, so-and-so might be gone, so-and-so might be gone. No, you're coming off of a berth in the Western Conference Finals against arguably the most talented team in NBA history, depending on how you want to look at that. But they were arguably in that conversation. So no, he shouldn't have opened his mouth. And a little more further to the George Steinbrenner point, listen, y'all know I'm a diehard Yankees fan, but when I don't always necessarily think that's a compliment when somebody is being compared to the late, great George Steinbrenner, because I just take it back to the fact that management was able to build a championship caliber team when he was not overseeing the day-to-day operations or making the decisions with the team. They were able to go out and make little free agent moves, but most notably, they were able to draft the players they needed to draft for that team and build up that farm system to the point that they built them with. George Steinbrenner didn't really have a hand in that necessarily. And if he did, it was a hand that nobody knew about behind closed doors, or at least in the public for everybody to see. So people need to be a little bit careful with that comparison, thinking that it's necessarily a good thing too. And look, God rest George Steinbrenner's soul, appreciative of everything he did for the New York Yankees, all the money he spent, and all the other acquisitions that he made that helped accumulate more championships. But y'all know me, I call a spade, and I call it like it is. The Yankees missed the playoffs from 1982 or from 1981 all the way up until the 1995 season. They went 14 years without making a postseason. And a lot of that was under the direction of George Steinbrenner when he was overseeing the day-to-day operations of the team. So for your sake, I hope your team isn't headed for that type of stretch with this type of owner. But he does need to take a step back and let management do their thing and not necessarily be so vocal about, I'm thinking of getting rid of this person or getting rid of that person. No, that's not necessarily the best thing for him to be doing right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Teams are taking L's. The Boston Celtics lost another game tonight to the Utah Jazz. I'm not saying this because I'm a diehard Lakers fan and the Celtics are our biggest rival. I'm saying this for other reasons. Danny Ainge and the organization are getting exactly what they deserve right now, exactly for how he did Isaiah Thomas after the 2017 season. It took a long time to hit him, but that boomerang is finally hitting the Celtics in the butt. You have all these trades and all these buyout scenarios that can happen, and I don't believe they're going to get any one of them. Anybody's thoughts on that?
I'm just wondering how long before Danny Ainge is on the hot seat? Like, what is it going to take I'm not saying he should go or that he needs to go. I'm just wondering, like, because Boston has that high pedigree of like, yo, we're Boston, we're the Celtics. Like, we should be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals and playing for championships. And I'm just wondering.
Well,
I'm just wondering.
The fact that he came out a few weeks ago himself and said that he has not been aggressive enough with putting the proper pieces on this team to go along with Tatum and Brown, that should be evidence enough from ownership to say, oh, okay. So in other words, what you're saying is you haven't really done a great job of doing your job.
Exactly.
And it's been 13 years since the Celtics won a world championship. It's been 11 years since they made it to an NBA Finals. Eventually, we got to stop living off that championship that was won in 2008.
Yeah, because they not coming. They not coming. His good friends over there in Washington not coming. Minnesota not coming over to just send him KG like they did last time. Right. It's not happening this time. He got to answer your question, Devon. I feel like he needs to be on it after this season, considering what X just said. He admitted that he hasn't been aggressive enough, and that's pretty much admitting that he hasn't been doing his job good enough. And he had ample of opportunities to make trades. I am like every time a player comes available, Boston is in the mix because they had a war chest of first-round picks and young talent. But they always choose to stick with their young talent and stick with their draft picks. They always realize they always want to be the one. They want to be the ones to Belichick somebody. They want to be the ones to feel like they got the best of the deal. They don't never want to put themselves in a position. Just looking from my point of view, they don't ever want to put themselves in a position where they got the bad end of a deal. So they never want to give up too much for a player. They always want to seem like they got the best end of the deal. They always want to feel like they're Bill Belichick and they're the Patriots and everybody else is the NFL. Where people don't want to trade with the Patriots because they always feel like they're getting the butt end of the deal because Belichick is so smart. I feel like Danny Ainge had that kind of arrogance with his trades, and I feel like he should have. He kind of was feeling himself after he made that Brooklyn trade and got all those draft picks. But look at it now. He got all those draft picks from Brooklyn. He did all that. And since they did that, Celtics haven't won a championship. And right now, this moment, Brooklyn is favored to win the championship. So did you really win that trade or did you just stronger than opportunity?
I'm like, you did that and everybody was calling him a genius and they were calling Brad Stevens this great up-and-coming coach and doing all this. And I'm just like, what have they done? Like, they haven't done anything. Like, when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward came, and then you had that stacked team that they had, and they still ain't do nothing because all them dudes was all that infighting. And then they stripped that team down, and you just got it down to Tatum and Brown, and now you got the dude coming out talking about, oh, I haven't been aggressive enough. Like, he's been saying that, essentially been saying that for like the last 4 years after being aggressive because it wasn't working when he was aggressive. And now he's stepping back and still like
yeah, because he had opportunities to get some elite players. Like he should have. He didn't want to. He
could have got Anthony Davis.
He didn't want to get Anthony Davis.
No, he couldn't. No, he couldn't. Now, bro.
No, it was real. Like, there was a shot. They had the opportunity.
No,
I mean, he could have traded.
He wasn't getting Anthony. He was. I promise you, bro.
Yeah. His dad said that.
Like, yeah, bro, his dad had shut that down.
I forgot.
No. He could have traded for Anthony. He just decided now he made the business decision that it's not a good business. It's not a good business.
No.
Could have gotten KD.
The business decision came because his dad came out and said because it came back to the way he treated Isaiah.
I know. No, I agree with you. But if they traded for Anthony Davis was going to Brook. Even if he would have left when he became a free agent, if they traded
I'm saying the same thing. I was about to say like he would have traded for him, but it would have been a lost trade because Anthony would have left that next offseason.
I agree.
I mean, but we saw that with Kawhi. They traded him to Toronto. He was there for 1 year. We saw what happened.
But Toronto was so a place that Kawhi wasn't even considering though. Like Kawhi, nobody in Kawhi's camp ever came out and said we don't want to go to Toronto. And his dad came out and said my son will not play for Boston.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, but my point is he already made a decision to not make the trade. Period. Like he couldn't have made a trade for James Harden. Decided not to make it.
He could have gotten KD.
he could have made. Yeah, it'd be other players out there in the past that because he had so many draft picks. Anytime a player becomes available, no joke, you can look in the last 5 years. Anytime an elite player comes available, Boston's in the mix because they always say they have the best access. They have the best draft, not the best draft pick, but the most first-round picks, and they have the best young talent. But they never want to come off their young talent, and they never want to give up multiple draft picks for whatever reason. They just want to hold on to them and not trade them. But they literally should have traded for James Harden.
And
in my opinion, I feel like
and here's what I'll say about that. The most aggressive he's appeared to be in Boston when it comes down to actually trading and acquiring free agents was Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving. The Gordon Hayward thing was a wash the first night of the season that he ever strapped up for the Boston Celtics. In that opening game against Cleveland where he had one of the ugliest injuries that we've ever seen, that never worked out there. Now with the Kyrie situation, it went well in the first year until Kyrie got hurt, came back the next year, and it was a completely toxic situation after that. So, yeah, he hasn't done a good job of doing his job. Eventually, we got to stop living off that 2008 championship. Here's what I'm going to say to close out this point. Y'all realize that since the Celtics won that championship, we have had 3 presidents in the White House.
crazy.
Even though one of them was only a 4-year term that never even should have happened, but still, that's 3 presidents in the White House.
How many presidents have been in the White House since the Miami Heat have won a championship?
Just one.
Just one.
How many presidents have been in there since the Mavs have won the championship?
It's been 2.
I see what you're saying, bro. But
yeah, I feel like there are a lot of teams in the league though that have
I see what you're saying. You're saying there's a lot of teams that haven't won.
Yeah, because I can't remember what I seen, but it was somewhere like from 2008 to like now. The finals were consistent. Like from the West, at least, it was either Kobe, Tim Duncan. You know, it was always the same. It was the same people. So I feel like to be like, yeah, Boston ain't won it in so many years, but it's like
nobody winning.
Yeah, it comes down to like you always get a top 3 teams.
The only thing I would say to combat that is that the difference is Boston's rich history that they have. They have like a standard of getting there. Like the Lakers have like a standard. Like Lakers can't go like 10, 15 years without winning. People gonna be like, dog, we the Lakers. Like we the Lakers.
And we was in that rut though. We was in that rut, no cap. We was in that like
exactly
after 2010. 2010 was our last ring before this past one. So it's like
no, I'm saying though, y'all 2010 was y'all last ring, right?
Yeah, before this last one.
Yeah, before this last one, right? So y'all got there. Y'all came back next year. Y'all lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Mavs, right? The Mavs went on to beat the
I think we
Miami.
lost to them in the second round. I think we lost to them in the second round.
Okay, so you lost to them in the Western Conference Finals. Y'all lost to them. You sure?
Yeah, they lost in the semis.
Remember they swept. That was the year that Kobe had Kobe. That was the year we got swept, dog.
Phil Jackson's last year in the league.
Yeah, and that was the Baby Thunder. That was the year the Baby Thunder made their run to the Western Conference Finals before Dallas gave them that gentleman sweep in 5 games.
Yeah,
and then the next year, OKC
tied up at 1 in LA and missed the game-winning shot.
But I'm saying though, y'all did that. Y'all got to the second. After that, that's when y'all went in y'all rut.
Yeah.
What happened after that? Y'all made improvements. Y'all went out there and got LeBron. Y'all made a trade. Y'all went out there and y'all traded y'all young pieces and y'all traded draft picks to get who? Y'all to get AD. Boston's not trying to make any trades with their young pieces or their draft picks. So that's the thing. They don't want to trade Tatum. They don't want to trade Brown. They don't want to trade Smart. They don't want to trade multiple people.
Yeah.
Like anytime somebody anytime somebody asks them about Tatum, they be like, what? Tatum.
At this point, I would be that way about Tatum too. I'd still be willing to take calls on Jaylen Brown if I'm getting a superstar talent in return for him in the package. But at this point, I believe Jason Tatum should be deemed untouchable because I believe within the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be one of the top 10 players in the league. Just me from a personal standpoint, I believe that he's got that type of ability.
Tatum's the only one. Ain't no reason I'm holding on to Brown or Kemba.
I wouldn't say untouchable, but you gonna have to open up the truck to get JT. I wouldn't say untouchable.
Bro, the top 5 players in the NBA, I'm trading Tatum for off dump.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Probably the top 8. probably the top 8 players in the NBA I'm trading Tatum for off dunk.
I think he's in the top 8.
Real.
Could be in the top 8.
He's not in the top 8.
If someone I don't know why they would
15,
do it, but
15.
if the Clippers said, "Hey, bro, y'all want Kawhi for Jason Tatum, bro? What we
Please,
talking about?
yes.
Send him tomorrow. Like send him tonight.
What you want
we
for him?
talking
Like, you want the coach too? I'll throw the coach in there.
What,
Like,
bro? I'll tie his shoes for him. What you talking about,
Bro, speaking of the coach, people had to get a mitigated gall to say Brad Stevens was the best coach in the NBA over Greg Popovich, bro. People
Who
was
said that?
yeah, that's
Bro.
what I'm saying. They were saying that
Bro.
about Danny Ainge too.
No,
They were
but
just on
okay.
this high horse.
I wanted to touch on that. That at that point of his hire, Brad was one of the top he was an up and coming coach. It's not until now that we're like, all right, Brad, we know you can do something out about.
But to say he better than Popovich.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying I seen analysts literally. I can pull the tape. I know who it is exactly, but I don't want to say who because I know y'all give me a hard time, especially Lawrence X, because it's my guy. But Nick Wright said it, man. Nick Wright said it. Nick,
you know that clown's gonna say that.
You know that's for TV.
Clown's gonna say that.
That's for TV. You know he the rating.
Here's what I'll say about Brad Stevens really quickly. I think he's a good coach, but I think it needs to stop right there until he does indeed deliver the Larry O'Brien trophy, because it's been in too many situations where he gets tight. And the great ones don't get tight. Popovich doesn't get tight. Phil Jackson didn't get tight. Pat Riley didn't get tight. Red Auerbach didn't get tight.
Hell, Eric Spoelstra didn't get tight.
He doesn't.
Hold on, bro. No, I done seen Eric fold. I mean,
everybody folds. Popovich
Eric
folded
got
too.
tight.
but-
I done seen Eric fold once or twice.
he got tight until LeBron hit with that lay elbow. Get right. Get right. He bumped him. He said, "Get right."
No, but I'm saying, but he got there though. That's all I'm saying. Brad,
Yeah, bro. I
hasn't
know
even,
you.
like,
I'm just
sniffed
joking. I'm just joking.
it. Like, yo, this man Brad got the one Eastern Conference Finals.
No, Brad has been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals. He's been to 3 of them.
Oh,
Yep.
shoot.
But
Oh,
he
yeah,
hasn't delivered in any of them. That's the point there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And this year he might not either, because I think Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee are better than them off dump.
Well, I'm honestly starting to question if the Celtics are even going to make the playoffs this year.
Ooh.
I ain't going that far. I ain't going that far.
Ooh.
I'm just saying.
The East is just too weak for me to
The East so
go that far.
trash though. If they was
Yeah,
in the
the
West,
East is
That's
too
what I'm saying.
weak
If
for me
it's in
to
the
be
West,
like,
I'll be with you, X. But it's like,
the
I
East
mean,
so
yeah.
trash,
the
bro.
only do you
It's
think?
like
Let me pull that up,
Bro,
The
look,
East is
hey,
terrible.
hey, shout out to LaMelo Ball for leading the Charlotte Hornets to the playoffs, man. They ain't there yet.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking
I don't
about.
want to jump the gun, but that young rook got them boys in playoff contention. They top
The
5.
Knicks are in playoff contention. Like,
The
damn,
Knicks?
the East,
What
bro.
year? Hey, we coming out of 2020 with some new thing. Hey, 2020 was a tough year, but 2021 is looking bright so far, man.
Right.
And
Okay,
let me say
Ed.
this right now, and let me say this right now before we wrap all of this up. Let me give a shout out to the New York Knicks, those
Yeah.
players, that coach. I tried to tell people that Tom Thibodeau was the fit that needed to go to that team. Number one, he's from that area, so he knows that blue-collar style play, that blue-collar style mentality that New Yorkers like to see. And look at that team. At one point, they were almost down by 20 last night to Brooklyn. And I turned around and they were within 5 points of the game. I was just like, you know what? This team fights. They fight hard. They don't ever give up. Like the days of the 30 and 40-point blowouts, they don't live in Madison Square Garden anymore necessarily. And it's because of the fight of Tom Thibodeau and Mike Woodson, who should be a head coach in this league, by the way. Mike
Yes, he
Woodson,
should.
the fight that they show and the fight they have from those players, Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, Quickly, and all of those guys they have, Obi Toppin. The Knicks, they look right now like the Nets did 2 years ago. And that
Yeah,
should
I'ma tell
have
you.
New York Knicks fans very excited.
Mike Wilson need the next coach of the Atlanta Hawks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait. Hold on.
forget
Because
about Nate.
Mike Woodson, though, Mike been the head coach of the Hawks.
No, hey,
They need
don't
to get him
forget
back
about
in there.
Nick Miller though.
Get him back.
Nate
What
is
does he
coaching
do?
Nate is
Say no,
coaching the Hawks right now, and they are on the 6-game winning streak. So don't forget
Nate,
about Nate.
Yeah, Nate McMillan should just go ahead.
Oh
and
shoot, my bad. I forgot Nate's down there.
Yeah,
My fault.
Nate's coaching them right now, and they on
Yeah.
the 6-game winning
Oh, then,
streak.
yeah.
So.
Shout out to Nate. That's
So
okay.
like I'm not trying to say like I'm not trying to bash my brother like these black men in these coaching jobs who are sisters that are killing, but it's like, bro, like I thought we talking about these guys like they pups and they ain't never had a head coaching job before in their life. Like, bro,
Hey, how many jobs
Woodson
is Tom
and
Thibodeau gonna
McMillan
get?
had stints, long, like 8-9 year stints as head coaches. Man, it's like
that's
it's like, bro, like I understand, bro, like equality and all that good jazz, but it's like, bro, if you ain't shown me that you can get it done as a head coach, then, homie, I need to let this shit recycle. Like, bro, earn your stripes back up, and I'll hit it to you. Like we just talked, Nate killing right now at the Hawks.
Well, see,
that's my thing.
I partially disagree with you on that right there because for some of them, it's the timing that the firing happened. Mike Woodson was fired after he led the New York Knicks to the best season they had in 15 years. Lionel Hollins was fired in Memphis after he coached that team to the Western Conference Finals. Like that is the timing that some of this stuff happens where it bothers.
Nate McMillan was fired after leading the Pacers to the playoffs just last season without.
But what happened? What happened the year before that?
You all just talking about what happened in the now.
I'm saying, and now they assistant coaches, right? So
that's the thing. That's the thing. That only
I'm saying let's let them be assistant coaches and earn it. Like everybody can't be head coach, right?
But that's the thing. Why
head coaches, right?
But that's the thing, though. I'm trying to understand. Like
they
with white coaches
short
all the time. Like why Steve Nash get the Brooklyn job and not somebody like a Nate McMillan?
Because Steve Nash has chemistry with Kevin Durant, bro. That pissed me off when the whole world wanted to come. Oh, that's white supremacy, bro. Steve Nash was KD's shooting coach in Golden State. When you got somebody like KD coming in, who do you want to be your coach, bro? Say less. I got you. It's not like, man, bro, Kevin Durant, you're a role player. You're going to play for who we tell you to play for. Fuck out of here, bro. Kevin, who you want to be your coach? Steve? Say less. And then Brooklyn is a favorite to win the East, right? Go to the finals. How can you argue with those results?
Hey, but at the same time, James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
You could. I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm saying no. If KD wanted Steve Nash, then who are we to be like, well, why did Steve get the job? Kevin asked for him. And then
hey, but
we know, what if Kyrie and James both sign off on him? Are you gonna say, man, fuck out of here, y'all can kick rocks?
No, hell no.
We just begged y'all to come hoop for us. So you now you upset because not y'all, but the world upset because it happened to be a white man. If that would have been Patrick Ewing that they would have got, the world, but oh hell yeah, bro, hell yeah, we're lit. We didn't.
That's the thing too. We've seen some of these players don't got the best judgment. The Hawks were begging for Lloyd Pierce and then also wanted him fired. The Rockets players begged for Steven Silas. 17 losses in a row. Like, so.
Hey. Who on the Rockets begging for Steven Silas? We ain't begging for those Steven Silas.
I saw reports talking about Harden and Russ advocated for him.
No, Harden and Russ did not advocate for Steven Silas.
Those reports lie.
Steven Silas being hired without Harden's consent is a big reason he wanted out of Houston in the first place.
There we go.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, somebody lied. I swear I saw that. Somebody lied.
Yeah. No. Russ was on the way out.
But with that being said, we wish all these coaches, especially all the brothers, but all of the coaches in general, we wish y'all the best. We'll be back on this platform really soon, y'all, talking with y'all. But we got to go ahead. We got to wrap it up. I want to thank my brothers for joining me tonight. We'll definitely be back with y'all soon. We'll see y'all when we see y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Deuces.